What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Kenny Parker Show. We do this every Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you guys so much for being here on a Friday. It's summertime. You could be outside. I could be outside, but we're here. We the fam Friday. Big up to the Rewind crew who's going to check this out later. Spook Realm 4Q, once again, you are number one. And Spook Realm 4Q has the public service announcement. If you ain't a jive turkey, and I hope you're not, then buy the epic true story. My brother's name is Kenny. The link is in the description below. Please get the book if you don't have the book. And assault that like button so that we can get more people, like-minded people, to subscribe to the channel. And we're going to jump right in here with this one. I see Matthew Pena. Thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. It is much appreciated. Says, yo, Kenny, I finished the book. Thank you so much for purchasing the book as well. Matthew, you are my man. And he said, man, it's a blessing you and your bro are healthy and successful. Those first 9 chapters were shocking. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, it's the true story, the real origin story of BDP that most people don't know. Going into a lot of detail about our upbringing, my family, and the whole story. And for some people, it could be very shocking. For most people, it will be. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Let me see. Corey Flood, what up? Spook Realm says Adam Sandler owes you $10,000. Wow. I want to see that story, but I want to move quick. Supreme Divine, what's up? Gregory Nettis, what's up? James Brown, Buffalo. I haven't seen you in a while, James Brown. What's up? Let me see if I can move a little quick. My Eagle Wolf, hey. What up, Friday crew? Relaxing by the Great Salt Lake City, Utah. Utah Jazz. Dre Stack Dollars, what up? MMA Crossfire, what up? G Doyle, half of the Doyle brothers is in the building. Tampa Bay Boston Terriers, haven't seen your name in a while. What's up? Anthony August, what up? My man, Terrence Hill, what's good? What's up, Kenny Park and the Friday Live crew? First time on a Friday. It's your first time on a Friday? Word? Shoot, I could have sworn I saw you up on here. I be getting my days mixed up. Matter of fact, also, happy birthday to the great, iconic Hall of Fame, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee Chuck D. Today is his birthday. I sent him a happy birthday text. I'll see if he responds. He's probably outliving his life. MK Ultra says, come down, Kenny Parker. Yes. Melissa Kirby, too. Health, love, and awareness and wealth. I don't recognize that name. Hey, Melissa, what's up? Samuel Gervais, what up? J Woo 72. See a lot of regulars there. Marasuti. Mike Rocks 25. I answered this question in the comments section. J Woo 72 says, yo, Kenny, who did the cuts and scratches on Mad Ism? I was not in the studio when that song was recorded, but KRS-One did the scratches. I'm pretty sure of that, and it sounds like his scratches as well. KRS-One, as I mentioned many times on here, he did most of the scratches on all of the BDP songs that you heard. Criminal Minded was Scott LaRock, and DJ Premier did the scratches on songs that Premier produced. Just about everything else was KRS. Even the Kenny Parker show, I did some scratches. Chris did some scratches. And DJ Premier, speaking of him, told me the story of how when they were in the studio working on Return of the Boom Bap, there was a break in the action, and Chris worked on the Mad Ism beat right there while Preem was in the studio, while they were taking a break for Return to Boom Bap. Preem watched Chris make that beat, Mad Ism, which turned out to be a big, big hit record. I think it reached the number 3 in the country on the rap charts. Shout out to Channel Live, Hakeem, and Tuffy. Um, this is interesting, Jason. Well, I wanted to comment on this. I saw this on Facebook. Somebody had a whole article quoting me. Says KP heard Heather B was supposed to be the opening act for the first Lauryn Hill tour, but was kicked off for being too political. Were you going to go out on this tour? I saw that whole story and I did not say one word that I'm quoted in that story. I don't know where that story came from. Um, I had absolutely no, somebody just made up something that I said and put it in a story. First of all, uh, opening act for the first Lauryn Hill tour. As a matter of fact, when Heather B's first album dropped, Taking Mine, was 96, was the time of the Fugees to score. So it wasn't that. Lauryn Hill dropped in 98. I remember in 98, me and Heather had a song out called Do You, and we were working on some stuff. I never heard about Heather opening up for Lauryn Hill. I had never heard that. Heather and Lauryn are cool. Shout out to L Boogie. Shout out to Miss Hill. I'm cool with her too. I mean, as with all the Fugees. But her and Heather are cool, but I never heard that she was going to be on tour with Lauryn. I think I would have heard that. And then she got kicked off, meaning that she was signed to be on this tour. I would have heard that. Um, for being too political on a Lauryn Hill, tour. Um, Heather B. Actually, Lauryn Hill's music to me is more political than Heather B. Um, that just doesn't even make sense to me. Were you going out on this tour? In 98, I was DJing for BDP, so I probably would not have been going out on that tour. Um, I rarely ever DJed for Heather. I might have DJed for Heather maybe 3 times, 4 times. Um, but no, the answer to all of that is no. No and no and no. And matter of fact, I'm going to reach out to Heather to get absolute confirmation, but I'm pretty sure that she was not booked to be on the Lauryn Hill tour because we would have been gearing up for that tour. We would have been putting together a whole show and everything, and she got kicked off. Who kicked her off? Um, I saw that article. I was not happy with that, man. Don't believe everything that you see on social media, please. And I appreciate you, Jason Wall, coming to the source because um, and that's one of the reasons why I started this channel to clear up some misconceptions. There's so much misinformation out there. And I've been seeing a lot of stuff people have written about my group in the time that I was there. And some of it is true, some of it is made up, some of it is bits and pieces. I'm like, oh man, don't believe nothing you see on this internet, bro. Jimmy Knight, thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, ah, Blaze Ness says much love from Montreal, Canada. We got a lot of love from Canada on this channel. We love Canada back. Haven't been there in decades. I probably haven't been to Canada since the 90s. We used to do some ill shows out there too. Um, Says can't wait for the audio book coming soon. Read the book about 2.5 years ago. It was during a difficult period in my life, and I must say it was uplifting. Thank you so much for those kind words. That is the purpose of the book. Uh, no matter what you may be going through, you still can push through. Uh, if you don't have the book, the link is in the description below. Please pick it up. Um, and the audio book is coming out. I already finished the audio. I'm just cleaning it up. Uh, Turned out pretty dope. I think me telling the story in my own words. Floetry One says, "What up? What it do? What it do? KP been watching your videos all day. That's dope. Thank you so much." Uh, Kennard Roberts says, "What up, KP? Question: Why do you think rap music not sparking up in these hard times like it did with our pioneers when times was rough?" Well, because there's other outlets. Um, Back in the day, we had no way to express ourselves, the inner city youth. In order to be on media, which was television, radio, and newspapers, you had to do something spectacular and be exceptional to get on that medium. And that medium was reserved for certain people, and everybody else had no voice. So the only voice that we had was the music. And when Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five dropped the message in '82, that sparked a little spark in hip hop that said you can say something about what's going on. And then, fast forward 6 years later, Public Enemy BDP picked up the torch and started talking about a lot of things. But that was our only way to speak. Now, with social media, anybody can have a voice. You could accumulate hundreds of thousands, even millions of followers without being particularly outstanding. Just have some kind of flair or be appealing to the eye, and you can have a voice. So I think a lot of the youth now, they are expressing themselves. It's just not through music. Their music now is strictly for having fun. And when they want to express themselves, they go on social media. We had to combine everything, fun and pain. Great question. Tori D, what up? Henry Sedillo, what up? CMC's techniques in class. Salute to the chat. Word. Um, I don't recognize this name. Spice it up. Two checking in. T.O. checking in. Sydney Rose, yeah, happy birthday to Chuck D. Uh, I hope Chuck hits me back. This is a great question. Jimmy Knight says, "How was your week, Kenny?" My week was actually pretty good. Um, I went to the beach. I worked on some music. I have another beat dropping. Thank you for those that checked out my last track that I dropped. Uh, when did I drop it? Wednesday morning. And it's called No Paperwork, which I got that idea from you guys. I'm still dropping some of the old stuff that I played on the SP1200 when we did our two SP1200 sessions. And so just about all of the beats that I've put up so far are cleaned up versions of what we played that day and some of the stuff that wouldn't load. So I got a couple more. I got like 2 or 3 more of those to load. Then I'm going to start playing some other stuff that you haven't heard. Uh, Even though some of the stuff that I played you haven't heard because it didn't load, but I'm getting some of the discs to load. Some beats are just lost forever. Anyway, how was my week? My week was pretty good, man. I'm a summer baby, so as long as it's warm and I'm not in any pain, feeling good. Thank you so much. Melissa Kirby says, "The Gospel of Hip Hop and My Brother's Name is Kenny." Yes, my brother's book, one of several books that he's written, The Gospel of Hip Hop, which is really a compilation of 3 books. The Gospel of Hip Hop is 3 books combined into one book. I have a signed copy of that. uh, Shout out to the teacher. Daryl Thomas, Chuck and Chris are both August born, practically the same age. No, Chuck is considerably older than KRS. Um, I believe Chuck is like 5 years older than Chris. MMA says, happy birthday to the rhyme animal. Yeah, man. Chuck D, he put it down. You know what you could tell a MC. I evaluate MCs when you were at the peak of your game, when you were in your prime, when you had the whole world listening to your words. What did you do? What did you say? Did you just take from the culture, or did you, at least from time to time, give something back and say something to help uplift the youth? And when Chuck D had the joystick to the game, he put it down, man. He's one of my heroes. Benny Doyle's in the building. Anthony August, what up? Anthony August says, what would it take to get the I guess mean BDP story on TV, Hulu or Prime and Netflix? Man, they've been working on it for decades. I don't know. I hope when it do, I'm gonna say when it eventually comes to the light. You have no idea how many false starts there's been in the past 30 years. But I do hope when it does come to the light that they use my book as the reference, because I believe my book is the real story. Bill Shapiro, what up? MMA says you need a Harry Allen, Kenny. Yeah, a media assassin, probably. What up, Harry Allen? Reed Buffy 361, what up? Um, MK Ultra says, will the audio book be available on Audible? Yes, it will. Um, let's see. Uh, Bill Shapiro says, what happened to Cooley Live, Jive Records? I don't remember Cooley Live. Cooley Live on Jive? I don't even remember Cooley Live. But then again, there's been people, you'd be amazed the type of artists that was signed to major labels and we never even heard of them. It's a shame. You know, a lot of times record companies sign artists just to, I don't know, for like a tax write-off. It's like what they do is they sign a bunch of stuff and throw it against the wall. And whatever sticks, they go in that direction. And whatever falls off, they just drop them. But these are people's careers, man, and their dreams, but they don't care. Don't let me start with my soapbox. I'm not doing it today, y'all. Don't worry. Unless somebody provokes me on here. Michael from Border says, KP, you almost had the perfect pun for joy and pain. Yes. Our music back in the day was both joy and pain. Patrick Wise says, yo, KP, make sure I get an honorable mention for no paperwork. That was you. That's right. That was you who said I should call it no paperwork. And I did. Yes, you will get more than an honorable mention. You named that track No Paperwork. And that's what that track will be called forever and ever and ever and ever. Thank you, Patrick Y. Um, let's see. Benny Doyle says Chuck D is 65 today. G Doyle, yo, Kenny, did you ever dabble in breakdancing when you were growing up? Absolutely not. I never breakdanced. I only did one part of the hip hop culture, and that is DJing. I never rapped, never breakdanced, never wrote graffiti, no beatboxing, anything, just DJing. Sydney Rose says no paperwork is banging. Thank you so much. I did that track, honestly, y'all, in 1996. 1996. That track is 29 years old. It never came out. It was gonna come out. Uh, let's see. Ah, as usual, CMC's techniques in class. Thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. As usual, you are so appreciated. Says word, Chuck D needs at least a 2-hour interview spot with you, KP. Working on it. I've waited years to hear Chuck's view on Night of the Living Bassheads and such. What a powerful song. Here it is. Bam. And the video was dope. Video was dope. That's one of the greatest albums, if not the greatest rap album of all time. Randy Savage. What up, KP? Question for the BDP Live album, how does stuff like publishing and sample clearance work for that type of recorded performance? Um, well, I was not privy to the business part of that back in those days. I was brand new to the crew. I stayed in my lane. But uh first of all, 1990, that we recorded it in 1990, it came out in 91. The sampling laws were really just getting settled. So it was still, we were still coming off the wild, wild west of the 80s as far as samples. Um, so basically, if you did a live album today or anytime after that, whoever owns the publishing and for the songs, a particular song, you would have to get it cleared again to use for the live album. Problem with BDP's live album, if I recall, is that the songs that were used from the Criminal Minded album, there was still a dispute at that time over ownership. KRS was fighting for ownership of his songs from, at that point, 4 years ago. So they were able to license the songs to use. Jive was able to license the Criminal Minded songs from B-Boy Records to use on the live album, but the royalties, if I recall, was put in escrow because they were fighting over rights. And it was in escrow for years. Now I don't know what happened, if how they cleared it up. If they cleared it up, I wasn't privy to that information because I was not signed to Jive. But all the records that were on Jive were no problems. It was the Criminal Minded records. And the new stuff that we did on there, we did a couple of new things on there, is considered just a new song. One thing too Chris was fighting for was he had a 7-album deal with Jive. That's how most artists are signed for 7 albums. Most 99% of the artists never make it to 7 albums. You get dropped before then. But BDP was signed to 7 albums. And Chris was trying to use the live album to count as one of his 7. And they were fighting over that too, but I don't think it was able to count. Even though we added 3 new songs on there, I don't think it was able to count, which was frustrating for Chris, if I recall. Yeah, I hope that answered your question. Moving along, and I'm falling further behind. I saw this, John, where KRS-One and DJ Cash Money was rocking on a high. I saw that clip on YouTube. Shout out to Cash Money. Let's see. Fulci says no paperwork was ill. Thank you so much, No Paperwork. Oh, I didn't know this. Markeith Bankroll, what up? Says happy 51st birthday to Rampage, the last Boy Scout. Big up Rampage. He's mad cool. Likes to see him out and about. Of course, we talk all the time about how I was out and about. He's from Flatbush too, my hometown, Flatbush, Brooklyn. So big up Rampage, big up the whole Flip Mode squad. Patrick Wise says, KP, let's make Fridays no soapbox Fridays. I can't promise you that, Patrick. Why? Because if somebody says something that gets me on my soapbox, I'm gonna go for it. Um, I don't think I know the answer to this question. I'm gonna put it up. Ice-T said breaking started in New York and popping was in LA. When do you believe that they linked together? I didn't know popping started in LA. I thought all of it started in New York. Um, tell you the truth. Uh, I could be wrong. Ice-T is older than me and been in the game longer than me and is from LA and is the homie and a legend. So I would never, ever, 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 ever disrespect Ice-T and his opinion. So this is news to me because I thought it all started in New York. So I can't even answer the question, but it's good to put it out there. Um, let's see. I saw this, Mike Rocks. The new Ice Cube flick, War of the Worlds, was cool. I give it 3 out of 5 popcorns. I saw it come across my screen, like the advertisement, the trailer, or whatever. But it had a score on Rotten Tomatoes. It had like I think it was no IDMB score, and it was like 3 out of 10. A horrible score. I was looking at it, I was like, wow, should I click on this? I'm interested to see what new spin they would put on it. The original War of the Worlds and the one with uh, Tom Cruise, I liked both of those. Remember the original War of the Worlds that came on the radio only and caused a nationwide panic? This is back, I believe, in the 50s when there wasn't really much television, maybe in the 40s or the 50s. And Orson Welles came on at the beginning of a radio show and said, we're doing a play, called War of the Worlds. Then from that point on, they simulated a real UFO invasion. And apparently nobody heard the beginning part where he said, this is not real. And it got so crazy that the 911 calls of 911 was being flooded with calls, and it started a hysteria because people really thought that aliens had invaded the world. I believe War of the Worlds type invasion is coming soon, y'all. Superior, what's up? Says just came here fresh off a freestyle session for no paperwork. Thank you so much. Join us fire. Thank you, thank you. That's the purpose of me putting it up, so people could rock to it or whatever. Um, let's see. Uh, Mike Rock says, actually, Ice-T is from Newark, aka Brick City. I heard he lives in Jersey too. I thought he was from LA. I mean, he lived out there so long. I'm gonna say he's from LA, even though he might have been born here, but Ice-T is LA to me. Mike Rock says, what? War of the Worlds is a remake? There's like 3 of them. There's one from like the 60s or the 50s, the movie. And then there's one with Tom Cruise, and now this one. And like I said, there was the radio show, Orson Welles. I believe it was called War of the Worlds, yeah. Benny Doyle says there was a slight change at 116 mark or no paperwork. I thought it was fire. Thank you. Just try to mix it up a little bit. Candlestick says everything out is a remake. You notice that? And I think it's because A, there's not that many great ideas out. Hollywood is sort of tapped out on the big movies, and they're not. There's no budgets for the smaller movies. All the smaller stuff, I guess, is going to like Netflix or streaming service. Hollywood is not cutting big checks unless superhero is involved or animation. Everything else is getting little budgets. And there's no more movie stars. There's no more stars that people will pay money just to see this person because they are in a movie. The day of the movie star is probably done. I'm pretty sure somebody might come out the woodwork, but all of the big movie stars, most of them have been around for a while. Um, and everything is a remake now, and it's a whack remake too, or reboot, or spin-off. It's just whack. I believe we've seen the best. I hate to sound like that old guy, but I'm going to sound like him right now. I believe we've seen the best of Hollywood ever. I believe we've seen the best television ever. I believe we've heard the best music ever. And I might argue that we might have seen the best sports too. That's my argument. That's just my opinion. I know you're going to try to kill me on here, but that's just my opinion. I believe we've seen the greatest. When it comes to music, we've seen Marvin, Stevie, Michael Jackson, Prince, Whitney, Aretha, the Beatles. That we will never see that again. There's no like that's the new so and so. It's just gone. Um, like I said, there's no movie stars. Sports, maybe somebody will come down the woodwork that is as charismatic and big. But I think LeBron, and especially in basketball, he could be the last big guy. We'll see. All this argument about who's the face of the league, I think that's so stupid. Because the people decide who's the face of the league. You can push somebody up there all you want. The people decide who they will make the face of the league. And the best players in the league aren't even from America. Okay, that's a soapbox starting, but it's all good. Even the movies are politically correct now. Yeah, there's a lot of political correctness, and I can see why we had to be politically correct, because a lot of people said a lot of offensive things and a lot of offensive standards in entertainment. But then the pendulum swung all the way over. Like, once you start cleaning up things that get people offended, everyone's going to raise their hand. I'm offended too. I'm offended too. And then the pendulum swung all the way to you can't really say anything without getting canceled. So now the pendulum might swing back to total disrespect and racism and sexism, which would be whack too. Matter of fact, I was just thinking, I've been saying this for a while, but I was thinking about getting off of Twitter altogether. Like, I have a Twitter account. I don't even really be on it that much, but I hardly ever. But I do go on Twitter sometimes just to look at current up-to-date news and stuff. But it's so racist on there, so negative, that I'm really just thinking about not getting on at all. So if the pendulum is swinging, it is swung on Twitter. That's a good call, James Brown. Tori D says there are no more Spielbergs, George Lucas, Spike Lee, Coppola's, Singletons, Scorsese's type of directors. This new young black guy who made Sinners look like he wants to be somebody in this world. The problem is there could be directors like that. They're not going to get any money. You couldn't even make Goodfellas today. They wouldn't give you no money. Or to come out on Netflix in like a 6-part series or something. the likes, the talent like that, there might never be any visionaries like Spielberg and George Lucas, Spike Lee. These guys really took filmmaking to another level. And like I said, everyone is really following their lead. Someone has to come out and break the mold and be able to get money too. I don't know. It has to be somebody make a Marvel movie where they'll give you the budget, but then make a crazy uh what do you call it, cinematic masterpiece out of like a Marvel movie. That's probably like the only way to do it. Because they're not giving out no money. Kennard Roberts says, KP, can we get a signed tennis ball with your signature like we got from KRS? I remember in the 90s, KRS used to throw out the tennis balls. He used to be in the back of the dressing room signing all of these tennis balls. We used to go, not we, that wasn't my job, but someone used to go to the store and buy a box of tennis balls. KRS used to sign them, and then the shows would throw them out to people. That was a dope idea. I would love to do that. John Walker, originality is gone. It's really gone. And it's that, and what is original, what they're coming up with that's original is not that good. So you got to be original and dope. That's the problem. You could be dope, biting, or making remakes that's dope, but you're not original. Or could be original and be whack. You got to be both. Very hard to do. Mike Rock says, and you have foreign actors playing American characters, American. That's the next thing. Everyone is going for the foreign actors. Are they really that much better than American actors? All the foreign actors, man, well, they are learning American voices and accents to the T, because most of them I didn't even know were foreign. First time I heard Idris Elba talk, I couldn't believe it. I was like, why is he playing on TV? I thought Idris Elba was like joking when he talked. I didn't know that was his real voice. And Stringer Bell was the act. I thought Stringer Bell was his real voice. Yeah, MMA. No big movie studio will take a chance anymore on a small movie anymore. It's not movies. People aren't going to movies. Everything is streaming, and they're afraid. They're afraid. But a movie like Sinners will come out of nowhere and do big numbers. That's like almost a fluke. Not a fluke because it was great, but an anomaly in the scheme of things. Now, I don't know what he's going to do next. Are they going to cut him a check? I saw he might be doing an X-Files reboot. So we got, what's his name? What is this guy's name? Can't remember his name. The director for Sinners. But I saw that he is doing, well, I saw that, I don't know if it's true. The internet said he's doing the X-Files over, which was a remake of my favorite television show of all time when I was a child, The Night Stalker. That is my #1 favorite show of all time. And shout out to Carl Koshak. And the X-Files is like a spinoff of The Night Stalker. And now they spun that off, and then they're gonna spin it off again. It's just, ugh. Ugh. Yeah, that's his name, Ryan Coogler. Yeah, you said that's what I said, MK. He's about to reboot the X-Files. That's interesting. I mean, we can go on for days about this. The MCU is wick, whack now. They just after Avengers Endgame, I don't know what happened. The Spider-Man was dope. The last Spider-Man was dope. Everything else, it was Disney. They tried too hard to make stuff for kids. They saturated the market with all of these shows for Disney Plus, and then they made these like jokey movies like Ant-Man. They destroyed it. But now they're rebooting all that, so I hope it comes back around. They get more serious. MK Ultra, and you got this. AI is overtaking originality because now AI, you're just going to tell AI to do some stuff and it's going to come up with something. And that's going to be the next scary thing. Wow. I'd have to think about this one. Divine Existence says, KP, are there any hip hop artists that you first became aware of through a soundtrack or compilation? Profile and Jive had dope compilations back in the 80s. They did. And I'm sure there are. Um, I just can't think off the top of my head who I first heard of on a compilation album. I would have to think about that one. Because I'm sure there are. I just can't think of it off the top of my head. That's a great question, though. Parsons79 says, I tried to get a tennis ball at Delaware State University circa 97. I was there. Gurgen Nettis says, no paperwork actually sounds like Nas, the GOAT. No ideas original. Word up, son. Yeah, it's similar piece of that bass line. I actually made that, like I said, I made that track years before No Ideas Original came out. And No Ideas Original is a record. They just cut up the actual record. They didn't even sample it. They just cut up the actual record. I forgot who made it. And I had that record too. Kenneth Smith, Kenny, I know for a fact that Ice-T loves BDP. He does, and we love him back. I'm sure he'd be a guest. If I had people's numbers like that. Love Ice-T. I go into great detail about meeting Ice-T in the book. This is a great question. Joey Joe says, what I've always wondered about British people is why they don't have an accent when they sing. They always sound American. I was talking to my good friend many years ago, Karen Wheeler of Soul to Soul. Haven't seen her in a long time. That's my girl. And she was saying how they grow up listening to our music. They listen to Motown, they listen to all the stuff from the 70s and the 80s. And so they grow up mimicking their favorite American singer. So much so that when they start singing on their own, they're still singing like the singers that they listened to growing up. But when they talk regularly, they talk like the people they grew up around in their family in the streets. But they sing like the people they grew up around on the radio. It's amazing to hear it, especially like the black artists, like in the 80s when they had they call it the second uh, English invasion, when all of those dance groups were making like those quick 12-inch singles that were all big. And they all sounded like American artists and they were straight from overseas. Yeah, but Karen Wheeler explained that to me. It's how much they listen to American music. Divine Existence says Fantastic Four is dope. They finally got it right, and I still haven't seen it because I haven't had time. I should make time tomorrow. I want to go on a Saturday. Oh, I need to make time and go see the Fantastic Four. I didn't see the Fantastic Four or Superman. I'm so far behind. MMA says the Dark Knight trilogy is still my favorite. The Dark Knight was fantastic. Fantastic. The third one was okay. I didn't really care for Bane. He was all right. But the first two, and the one with the Joker is probably right at the top of the greatest of all time. I think Avengers, Endgame, and I forgot the name of the one before that one. The two of those together, my favorites all time. And the Dark Knight series. Blaze Nest says, Nas said it best, no idea is original. Yeah, I mean, I guess after a certain point, people take things and and spin it their own way. What was the last original sound in music? Would it be reggaeton? Which is not even really original. It's like taking Spanish music and putting it to like a reggae beat, to that Shabba Dembo beat. Dembo, 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 Dembo. They took those drums and made a whole genre out of it. But that's the last time I remember like a musical genre being new and fresh. And that was in like the mid 2000s. Um, But you're right. Everything at a certain point is just spinning off of something else. Joey Joe says the Ant-Man movies were great. Now, see, I hated the Ant-Man movies, and I loved Ant-Man as a kid. I was so excited to see Ant-Man. They made it too jokey. It was like for kids. Like Ant-Man was one of the first Avengers. He was serious. It was who were the first Avengers? It was Iron Man, the Hulk, Thor, Iron Man, the Hulk, Thor, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, Ant-Man, and Wasp. I believe those were the first Avengers, the very first ones, like in Avengers #1. Ant-Man was an original Avenger. Then he became able to grow giant. I loved Ant-Man. They made him into like a kitty, like jokey. I mean, some people like it. I just didn't really care for it. Iron Brattle says Far Side on Heavy Rhyme Experience. So I was aware of the Far Side before that. Profile All Stars, DJ Pumpkin. I think that's his original, right? Ah, this is a good one. Tupac with Digital Underground in that Chevy Chase movie. Yeah, same song. That is a soundtrack, and that's the first time I heard Pac. Yes. And he was buzzing off of that too. Shout out to Pac. Terrell McMillan says Marvel and DC both struggling when it comes to worthwhile movies. Things just ain't what they used to be. And it's a shame because all of the great stories are there in the comic books. But they're picking weird comic books they're picking weird arcs to make their stories. They should go back to the early comics, the Jack Kirby Stan Lee era, and take those stories. And all the stories are right there. I don't know how you could mess that up, but they found a way. G Doyle says, I hear the new Superman movie is straight trash. Don't tell me that, G Doyle. Gregory Netta says, is The Exorcist the scariest movie ever? At the time, I remember they were protesting outside. Remember that? There were people outside picketing The Exorcist. And Linda Blair said people never looked at her the same. Like people to today, to this day, like treated Linda Blair differently. They really believed she was possessed. Um, I think for the time, The Exorcist is probably the scariest movie of all time. I agree with that. KC Lingon, Kenny, what is your favorite venue that you ever played with BDP? Favorite? Well, I mean multiple times. The Apollo. You know, in Apollo, they either love you or hate you. But when they love you, boy, that energy in there is like no other place I've ever been. Um, I would say the Apollo. Everything else, like I don't really like big venues like Yankee. We did Yankee Stadium, Oakland Stadium. We've done, big giant shows with 20,000, 50,000. It's just too big. I don't feel like you can really. It's not intimate enough for me. I like intimate settings. So I like a big crowd, but not too big, like 1,000, 2,000. right on you, right there. You're right there where you can touch people. I think the Apollo really captured it. Ree Buffy says Karen Wheeler is dope. Yes, she is. We did some music that never came out. I played I played one of the beats on my SP1200. When I was playing on SP1200, I played one of the beats that we did a song to. CMC says, love Karen Wheeler. She last performed on Pete Rock's first solo album. Wow, I haven't seen her in so long. Bill Shapiro, ever met Nina Cherry? I think we did meet Nina Cherry walking. I think when we were first time I went to the UK, we did a show and Nina Cherry was there backstage. And we walked past her. Chris wasn't with us. It was me and Willie D, BDP's Willie D. And we walked right past Nina Cherry. So I did not meet her, but I walked past her. That was like 1990. Joey Joe says, I dislike the Dark Knight series. Oh my God, Joey Joe, say it ain't so. Uh, Joey Joe, you're breaking my heart. Yes, Infinity War. I could not get that out my head. The Captain America movies were all great. Let's see. I thought the first one was cool. I thought Captain America Winter Soldier was off the chain, off the walls. I thought Civil War was cool. I didn't like the fight scene because they weren't really fighting. They weren't really trying to hurt each other. You at no point did you feel that any of those people were really going to get beat up. So I thought Civil War was cool. But Captain America Winter Soldier, that was for real, for real. Um, oh, MK Ultra says the Batman was dope as well as the Penguin series. The Penguin series was that's the last thing that I watched that I thought was incredible. The Penguin series, I cannot believe that's Colin Powell, well, not Colin Powell, Colin Farrell. I said Colin Powell, Colin Farrell, Colin Farrell. Killing these names. Even though I know it's him, I still don't believe it's him. That was dope. If you did not see the Penguin, please go see the Penguin. Gregory Netta says, I was always a Doctor Strange fan. Me too, and I loved the first Doctor Strange. I loved him in all the Avengers movies. Didn't really care for this last one with Wanda, him fighting Wanda. There's just too much going on. The multiverse is just too much. Just a lot of effects, but I couldn't really get into it. Love Doctor Strange. And I loved him in the Spider-Man movie. I loved him in everything except for the second one. Anathema says the synthesizer music created new sounds. Yeah, but it was trying to emulate old sounds, creating new sounds, right? I guess it created new sounds trying to emulate old sounds. So even that's not original, but I guess it came up, it turned out to be new, but it's still a spin-off of something else. To me. Ed Olivier says, Kenny, what's up? I'm late on the check-in, but I'm here. Thank you so much. You never late, always on time. And people said there are sounds that the synthesizers make that no instrument can replicate. Absolutely. Um, but it still was trying, it was trying to be an instrument. Mm. Kennard Roberts says, KP, I've said it before. KRS has a song for any type rap song you can bring forth. That's why he's the one. KRS brought to me one of the things, like I said last week about the greatest of all time. There are a few people, handful of people, who are great at a particular thing that you can argue they're the greatest of all time at a particular thing. I don't think there's one person that's greatest at everything, but there's certain people that were great at certain things. And I think KRS-One was great at two things: live MCing, the art of MCing. I think he's the best, and the styles. No one has done more styles and talked about more different things than KRS. Nobody. And you're right about that. He has done a song for he's done a song and a style for everything, every type of music. Um, let's see. I can't bring this. Here we go. James Thomas Jr., thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. Says, now you're saying you like, what is this? Now you're saying who like you and I'll throw in the towel. Let me see. Now you're saying who like you and I'll throw in the towel the devil is. Is that a rhyme? Now you're saying like who you and Al throw in the towel the devil is. What rhyme is that? Is it a KRS rhyme? Marvin Keller says Ghostface Killer Supreme Clientele 2 coming soon. Yeah, I saw that today. Shout out to Ghost. I met Ghost once. I met Ghost at Rock the Bells in like 08 or 09. He was cool. Just said, you know what's up. He was cool. Like, I can't say I know him, but he was cool. MK Ultra says hip hop wasn't made for stadium shows. It really wasn't. And there are certain artists who should definitely not be nowhere near a stadium. They don't have the presence or the skills to command a crowd that size, but they have the record, a big record. So you put them in front of as many people as you can. So monetarily, they should be in an arena, but performance-wise, they should not. There are some big stadium records like Hip Hop Hooray, like Naughty made a few of them. Run DMC was great in a stadium. I mean, you could do it. We could rock. I mean, we've rocked plenty of stadiums and festivals, but I just think hip hop is more intimate. I think it should be more intimate. That's just me. There's people I've seen in stadiums lost up there. Big acts with a big song, lost on that big stage, man. If you don't know how to rock that stage, you know how to rock a giant crowd, you will look real whack on a stadium in a stadium. I don't know what this is. KP, what about Ziggy's Nightlife in Winston-Salem? I don't know what that is. Tef Vision, I don't recognize that name. Are you new to the channel? What's up? Big up Kerry Parker. Was the Return of the Boom Bap album title inspired by Tip when he said boom the bip, the boom bip? And I remember KRS saying he was going to do an album titled Return of the Boom Bip. That was supposed to be the follow-up that him and Premier was going to do decades ago. I don't think boom bap came from boom bip. I think boom bap came from. I remember Chris being in the studio trying to describe what he wants, and he was like, "I need the drums to go boom bap. I need the boom bap in the drums." I remember hearing him say that, and then next thing you know, the return of the boom bap. So he might have been trying to describe what he was trying to do. But I don't think it came from Boom Bip, the Q-tip Boom Bip. It could have, but I don't think so. Although T. La Rock said, "It's yours." He's the first one that says the boom, the bap, the boom bap. It's yours. Shout out to T. La Rock. That's my man. Um, was there ever plans for Ill Will from BDP solo album? I'm not sure about that. I know me and Will work was in the studio. I've done demos with Will. I probably did like 3 or 4 songs with Will. Will was an MC. Um, he was rhyming since like the 80s back in Zulu Nation. For those that don't know, Willie D was president of Chapter 5 of the Zulu Nation. Back then in the 80s, Zulu Nation had 11 chapters. And Will was president of Chapter 5. So he was a big deal in the organization. Um, and he rapped. And I came in the studio. I worked on some stuff for him in like 93, 94. But I don't know if there was ever no, that's a lie. You know why? Because when Sly and Robbie, you guys remember, well, of course you know who Sly and Robbie is, but BDP did the Sly and Robbie album in 1989, and Willie D featured on a couple of songs. Around that time, Sly and Robbie liked Willie D's rhymes so much that Island, I believe, was offering Will a deal. Around that time, 89, I forgot about that. But for some reason, it didn't work out. I think Will chose at that time not to accept the deal, if I recall. There's a little controversy in the crew because he would have had to have left BDP to go do his own solo thing in 89. I don't think Will wanted to do that. But his rhymes that he did on the Sly and Robbie album had Island Records offering him a deal. He actually went on tour with Sly and Robbie. So I just thought about that when you said it. CMC says Winter Soldier was intense and perfectly tactical. I love that. That's one of my favorite Marvel movies. Because to me, you have to believe that the hero can die. How many movies did you really feel like this dude could really die? Like in the Avengers with Thanos, he actually offed like four of the Avengers. Like you really believe, like he beat the Hulk down. He offed Loki. He offed Idris Elba, who was head of the Bifrost. He almost offed Thor. Natasha, Vision. You really believe they was gonna get it. Um, and that's what made it dope. Um, Winter Soldier, I really believe that the Winter Soldier was trying to get them. Like we thought that Nick Fury was gone. The first Avengers, I believe Loki was really trying to hurt somebody. Like those movies, I really believe somebody could go. Some of these Marvel movies at no point, like some of these Thor movies were so bad. The last couple was so bad. At no point did I ever believe Thor was in any danger. At no point. In order for these movies to be dope, someone really has to go at some point. From time to time, someone we love has to go to let you know that it's real. But Disney just, I mean, I don't know. James Thomas Jr., once again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Says lyrics from Build and Destroy. Lyrics from Build and Destroy, since you mentioned Colin Powell came on KP. A word, yeah, KRS was not a fan of Colin Powell at that time. Or Clarence Thomas. Chris was prophetic because he was dissing Clarence Thomas in 1990. And look what Clarence Thomas turned out to be. An embarrassment. Um, The first Child Play in '88 was a masterpiece, Gorgoness. I like the first Child Play. Chucky. Chucky was Chucky. Chucky was dope. Uh, let's see. Um, let's see. I'm looking for Parsons 79 says, speaking of different styles, KRS has done. How did he hook up with REM? That's a good question. 'Cause I remember, I think Michael Stipe came to a BDP show. He liked what KRS was talking about. And I believe he came to a show and they linked up and they ended up doing that song, radio song off the REM album. Michael Stipe, because I saw him he came to a BDP show after that. He came to the show in 91. I met Michael Stipe for a second, shook his hand. Big up to him. Um, they were huge for a second. Remember how big REM was? Yeah, Michael Stipe was a BDP fan. That's how they hooked up, if I recall. Um, Corey Flex says, Kenny, that's when BDP built and destroyed from sex and violence. It was? And I produced that record and don't remember the rhymes. It's a damn shame. Dom says, DOM, I heard 2 tracks off of Supreme Clientele 2 off Ghost Channel. Ghost always makes quality music, though. Ghost is one of the most consistent Wu-Tang members. James Thomas Jr. KP can't remember. He said Colin Powell. Oh, like Al, you want to see the devil? Take a look at Colin Powell. Yeah. Because first he said, you want to see the devil? Take a look at George Bush. And I told this story on one of my epic fails, how we got in trouble with the Secret Service over Chris calling George Bush the devil. Did you guys see it? I think it's called The Greatest Show Ever. I think it's called The Greatest Show Ever. Epic Fails, The Greatest Show Ever. I talk about when I messed up. I had a huge mess up in DC. And I believe I talked about how the Secret Service was on us because KRS called George Bush the devil in DC on the Capitol steps. Wildin'. We almost was in Guantanamo Bay somewhere. CMC's Techniques in Class. Thank you once again. Says KP, Redman's Funkorama has samples from a Tribe Called Quest, Fat Boys, BT Express, Curtis Blow, and the show by Sick Rick. Would Eric have to pay for the samples? Well, first of all, did they clear all of them? But let's say they did. It's not Eric, it's the budget. There's a budget for samples. The record company would pay for it. But the publishing would get divvied up amongst all of those people, which would be whack because then each person would be getting a little piece of the money. But yeah, you would have to clear all of it in a record company. So it wouldn't be Eric, it would be Def Jam who would pay for the samples. Sidney Rose says, I remember BDP and Sly and Robbie. Flashbacks. That's why most of the live album, Willie D was not on stage with KRS because he was on tour with Sly and Robbie at that same time we were recording. MK Ultra says, tough to capture the Hulk's essence in movies. I agree. Although I thought Avengers, the first Avengers movie, I thought was the best capture of the Hulk's essence. Then they made Hulk into just a sucker after they let Thanos beat him down. And then after that, he hasn't been the Hulk since. The Hulk in Thor Ragnarok I thought he was funny when the Hulk had on the towel and stuff and was eating and playing ball. I thought that I liked that Hulk. Oh. MK Ultra says we're all still waiting for that KRS One Bruce Springsteen collab. Yeah, maybe speaking of remakes, maybe they could do Hungry Heart over. I've never met Bruce Springsteen. I have not met that many rockers. We did a show with Slash from Guns N' Roses. We didn't meet him, but we did a show with him. Trying to think of any rockers that I've met. I don't think I have ever met any of the heavy metal bands or rockers. I probably have, but I can't remember. Not even Rage Against the Machine or anybody like that. I don't think I've ever met a rocker. I would have to think about that. Ridge says Liberace and Wu-Tang collab. Don't sleep, because you never know. Somehow that might be crazy. What if it turned out crazy? Mark Thompson says, salute KP. How does it work when the label that the artist is on owns the right to the song being sampled? It works real smooth. I remember Wyclef, when he was on Sony, got to sample Another One Bites the Dust. I think it was Another One Bites the Dust from Queen. And I think they actually went in the vault and got the 2-inch. It had the actual stems, the individual tracks. It's real easy to sample a song when the record company owns the rights, the master recording. But whoever owns the publishing, you still have to pay them though. Even if the record company owns the rights to the song, whoever owns that publishing still has to get their money. Publishing is the greatest thing ever. I say it all the time on here. The gift that keeps on giving. Rosmel says Thanos won against the Hulk in the comics too. That was shocking to me when Thanos, he just beat the Hulk down. And the Hulk was hiding. The Hulk wouldn't come back out. Ed Olivier says, what venue had BDP and Guns N' Roses? It was like a college. Either a college or like it was a festival. But it wasn't Guns N' Roses, it was just Slash. He had like some solo project or something. So it was just him. It wasn't the whole Guns N' Roses. It was, and we opened up too, because he went on after us, if I recall. There was Slash and KRS-One, but was it BDP then? We might have still been BDP at that point. It was Slash. It wasn't the whole Guns N' Roses. Cutie Pie, what's up? The colleges used to have the best concerts. Absolutely. You know why? Because colleges, in your tuition, there's certain money set aside for entertainment that comes out of the tuitions. So when you do a college show, it doesn't matter who shows up, how many people show up. A lot of times it was just for the college. The checks were golden because, sometimes when you do clubs, or mostly clubs, not theaters and arenas, but clubs, there's a lot of shady promoters. You get there and they start having a song and dance about how it's not as full as they thought it was going to be and a whole thing. But colleges, it don't matter who shows up. It's for the students, and the checks are usually probably double what you would normally make, and the checks are gold. But a lot of groups couldn't do colleges because of their subject matter. But BDP we did so many colleges. One of my favorite college shows, it wasn't even crowded, was I think it was like 96. No, it was after that. It was like 97, 97 maybe, 97, 98, something like that. It was a college. The show was KRS-One and Jay-Z on the bill, and Jay was on fire too. I can't remember, was Hard Knock Life out? I don't know if Hard Knock Life was out, but I remember him being on fire though. And there was only like 200 people there, and it was in a whole big gym. Like their whole big gym was turned into a concert. They built a stage, sound, lights, everything. And there was like 200 people there for KRS and Jay-Z. I remember me and Will was sitting watching Jay-Z. I remember we sat all the way in the back of the gym. So keep in mind, this we a gym, so say we're like a block away, because they're on one side of the gym, we were all the way on the other side, in like the bleachers, watching Jay-Z. And what I remember was that he had on this ring that was so shiny. He had a ring, and Damon Dash had on these earrings. Looked like the earrings and the ring was made out of the same diamond cut. And when the spotlights was going past, it was catching Jay-Z's ring and it was catching Damon Dash's earrings. So crazy. Blue light, it looked crazy. And I remember me and Will just sitting there. I don't even remember the songs. I just remember looking at this jewelry like, yo, I don't know what kind of jewelry they got on, but the way these lights are catching it is crazy. Me and Will was sitting there just bugging out off of Jay-Z and Damon Dash's jewelry. um, there was an MC named Haas the Ripper. Shout out to Haas the Ripper. That's my man. I haven't seen him in decades. He was with Rockefeller at that point. I saw him backstage. We kicked it for a second. But yeah, college shows are dope. I'm trying to think of, we've done we've done so many colleges, I can't even, I know we did Temple University. We did Temple University. That show was off the hook. Yeah, if you ever get a chance to go to a college show, go. Security is nice. It's good. Bill Shapiro says, my first rap show was BDP at Hamilton College, upstate New York. Word. We did a lot of shows in upstate New York, too, all over the place. Let's see. Ed Olivier says, my homegirl worked for Rockefeller at that time. Y'all and Jay-Z performed at a school upstate New York, right? Maybe. I can't remember where it was. It could have been. It could have been. I just know it was a college, and I know it was nobody there. Not nobody, but it was just for the students. I know the college paid big money to get both of those artists there. And it was a few people. I mean, they was rocking. You rock, you rock whoever's in front of you. But I'm not sure what school it was, but it could have been. Gregory Netta says, yo, Kenny, who sings Super Whole Hook for KRS-One? I have a segment on this channel I did like 2 years ago. I think it's called either 5 Things or 8 Things You Didn't Know About BDP. One of them being that Miss Melody is singing Super Whole Hook on Criminal Minded. Scott LaRock had them all. That is Miss Melody. Benny Doyle says, Greg, was it Miss Melody's sister or no? Super Whole, that's the track. No, that was not Harmony. Harmony is Miss Melody's sister. It was not Harmony, I believe. It was Miss Melody. Maybe in another girl, like their friend or something, but I know Miss Melody was singing that. He is the super hoe. Rest in peace to Miss Melody. It's 9:20. For those that's just checking in, this is the Kenny Parker Show on a Friday night. We're doing Fridays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we're doing Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Once again, thank you for those, the family that's on the check-in on a Friday night in the summertime. I love it. I'm here. We're all here just talking-ish. I'm going to drop another beat probably in the morning. And big up to the Rewind crew who's going to check this out later on. Scuba says, hit the like button. Yes. Please hit the like button. Gregory Ness says, Kenny, did you have LA Gear sneakers? No, I only wore Nikes. That's it. Nike, period. I had a pair of canvas Converses a few years back, but that's it. I'm Nike down. Bill Shapiro says 1996, Luke, Jay-Z, Big Pun, and Fat Joe, the Beatnuts, Syracuse University Greek Freak. That must have been dope. We did the Penn Relays in 97, I believe. Remember Penn State? Is that Penn State, the Penn Relays? BDP at KRS and Redman. That was a wild show. That was dope. Kenny, what is your wait, no, this is the wrong comment I have on here. No, it isn't. Kenny, what are your favorite years in hip-hop? Albums, shows, videos, everything. Mine are 89, 90, 94, 95. Mine is, well, 88, because that's when all of the videos started coming, your MTV Raps. That's when all the groups started getting major deals. 88 for me was so exciting. I loved it. I always say 92 into 93. There's a 92, 93. There's like a 12 to like 14th month period that I think is the greatest time ever in hip hop history. So I'm going 92, 93, and 88. Tori D, oh no, this thing keeps jumping. What is this? I had Greg Ness, I had Penny Hardaway and Charles Barkley sneakers. No. Bill Shapiro says ponies. I had ponies in high school. This is what I saw. Tori D says, ever performed at NCAT A&T? Probably. We did a lot of shows in North Carolina and the Carolinas. Probably. We did thousands of, just my time, we did probably 1,500, 1,000 to 1,500 just in my time. I wish I collected flyers. I wish I had kept all the flyers that we had. My collection would be ridiculous. Mike Rock says, we rocked Adidas too. I had Adidas in high school. College, I had Fila. I had them Fila sneakers too. I had some Filas. Then as I got older, it was Nike. Let's see. Cindy Rose says, Fila was the joints back in the day. Yeah, Fila and a Fila suit cost you a grip, man. To have the whole matching suit. Woo. Gregory asks, yo, Kenny, did you ever have a Bob Marley dread hairstyle? Got to get the book on that one. Wait a minute. Christopher Carwell says, remember when Chris Webber dunked on Charles Barkley? I do remember that. Didn't he go behind his back and banged it on the great Charles Barkley? Reed Buffy says, which chapter? Well, it's really our upbringing. I would say chapters 3 or 4, something like that. I remember K Swiss. K Swiss was big in Union Square. When I first went to Union Square, there was a lot of K Swiss going on. $66. They was big in like 87, 86, 87. Um, Benny Doyle, this is great. Kenny, this community means more than any KRS verse, track, or album. I live for Tuesdays and Fridays. Thank you so much. I live for it too, and I really appreciate you being part of the fam. We family now, Benny Doyle. Um, yeah, it does mean a lot. I should really leave it on that note, but we still got 4 minutes. But I really appreciate that. Thank you. Um, and big up to the Rewind crew who's gonna check this out later. Rewind crew is huge. Love the Rewind crew. Um, Tampa Bay says, what about 86? I loved 86. But you asked me about my favorites. I loved 86 because my brother appeared in 86. My brother dropped in 86, South Bronx, which blew my mind. I couldn't believe my brother had a record. Could not believe it. 86 was special, was more sentimental. But I loved 86, 87. I loved all them years. But my favorites, 88, 92, 93. Uh, Sydney Rose says, I used to rock Patrick Ewing Adidas. They was big in Latin Quarters, Union Square, too. Shout out to Patrick Ewing. Never met Pat. His son and KRS-One's son that passed away, they were good friends. I think KRS used to live down the block from Patrick Ewing in New Jersey. And we never got Nick tickets. Epic fail. Um, we got 3 minutes. I'm gonna rock for 3 minutes. I'm at the very bottom too, so I'm seeing all of the comments live as they're dropping. I'm seeing everything right now in real time. And we got 3 minutes, y'all. We're gonna rock out. I see somebody said troops. I never had troops. Um, let's see. Scuba says KRS-One's rapping versatility makes him feared. I believe it's his versatility and his willingness to put it all on the line. Like a lot of artists don't battle or didn't battle, especially back in the day, because if you lost a battle, your career was really over. These days, you could battle, you could say this and that, it don't even matter anymore. But in the golden era, I hate that term, but in the golden era, losing, you can look back on it. People who were considered the loser of a battle, your career was over. So people were not that eager to jump into a battle and throw it all on the line. KRS is willing to throw it all on the line to battle. That's where he comes from. And the fact that he would do that, take it there, scares people, I believe, as well. His ability, but I'm not saying he could beat anybody. You know, there's people that could beat KRS, I'm probably sure. But his willingness to take it there is scary. Um, Kenneth Smith said, my favorite sneakers I own are my Georgetown Hoyas. I remember those. They were gray and blue. I had a pair in silver and white. Oh, well, I thought they were gray and blue. Ewings. I remember the whole team used to rock those. Remember that, Judge? Remember that team? Reggie Williams, David Wingate, Michael Graham, Michael Jackson, Gene Smith, Ralph Dalton. Them teams were fighting every night. John Thompson had them fighting. They were literally fighting every night. That whole team would be suspended for the rest of the year um, by today's standards. Jason Wall, you dug up the X-Man, Xavier McDaniel spot bills for hot shoes in 87. You dug up the X-Man. Used to love the X-Man when he was on the Knicks. That's a good one, Jason Wall. MK Ultra says, R.I.P. Randy Parker. Yes. Yes. Troubled kid. Had a lot of fun times with him, though. Kevin Smith says, KP all caught up tonight. Great time management. Finally, this is the first time I ever been caught up. Maybe ever. That I didn't have to scroll all the way down. Ralph Dalton had them high tops. They were up his shins. Sidney Rose, Hoya Paranoia, Patrick dunked in Ralph Sampson's face. I remember that game. I was screaming. He cocked it on him, too. Bang! That was like a matchup of the Titans. Syracuse versus Georgetown, classic Big East. Yes, I was there at the Garden for Pearl Washington and the Big East tournament. I got to see St. John's. Chris Mullen had 29 points. He was just shooting all threes, and they weren't three-pointers then. If it was three-point range, he'd have 50 if they were three-pointers then. This was in 84. Pearl Washington's freshman year when he lit up Georgetown, I was right there in the Garden. Scuba said I had the Marburys. I had the Marburys too. Shout out to Marbury. I had the Marburys too. Twisted my ankle in the Marburys. All right, we are past my bedtime. Once again, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. This is the Kenny Parker Show every Tuesday and Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are jumping off. Let me see if I can make this smaller. Yes, I can. I'm jumping off. I think I'm going to leave it with this. Sidney Rose says, R.I.P. Pearl Washington, one of the greatest college basketball performers ever. The excitement he brought to the New York and to the college world is unmatched. I go into great detail about playing against him in the book. The link is in the description below, and I am out of here. All right. I'll catch you guys, God willing, Tuesday. I'm going to drop a beat in the morning, and I'm out. Peace.